It's Europa League predictions time, baby. Right, let's get into it and start with Group A. And I'm going to put West Ham to win their group. West Ham have had a very positive start to the season with the likes of Ward Prowse and Jared Bowen in great form. And signings such as Kudus and Edson Alvarez, I can only see them winning this group. It's a difficult group, but I think they won't have a problem with it. In second, I'm going to go with Freiburg, and I think Freiburg just have that little bit edge. They were really good in the Bundesliga last year, and they started all right in the Bundesliga this year as well. And they've got some good attacking players such as Griffo and Doan, and at the back they have Ginter and Gunter. I think they'll do all right. Their recent 5-0 loss to Stuttgart worries me a little bit though, so watch out. In third, I'm going to put Olympiacos because I think Olympiacos are a solid enough team to get into to stay in Europe, so I'm going to put them third. I don't have much more to say. And so in last, I'm going to put Bachka Topola because they're pretty much inexperienced in the European level. They don't really have anyone that amazing or that notable. They have started well in the Serbian league though, so they could surprise Olympiacos potentially, and they could be a sticking point for West Ham and Freiburg. So watch out for them, but they'll probably finish last. Right, so in Group B, and I'm going to start from the bottom and I'm going to go with Ike Athens to finish last. I just think there is so much quality in this group. I just think Ike Athens, there isn't enough to beat any of the teams in this group. In third, I'm going to put Brighton, only because I just think Brighton, yes, they're really good. They have a really good coach in De Zerbi, the likes of Mitoma, Enciso, who's recently gotten injured, players such as Ferguson, all really solid. But when you're coming up against two teams that have competed in the Champions League regularly over the last few years, I just don't think they'll have enough. And they have no European experience, so they're very much an unknown at this point. And so in second, I'm going to put Ajax. And Ajax were really poor in the Eredivisie last season, but I think they're going to start to stabilise things. I know they've lost quite a few key players, Kudus, Alvarez, but watch out for the Georgian striker and their new signing, Mikhail Tadze. He is a very good player and could be the next Kvaratskhelia. So that means in first I've gone with Marseille, and I just think Marseille have too much for everyone in this group. They have too much quality. The likes of Klaus, attacking signings such as Iliman Ndiaye and Aubameyang, who was lethal at Arsenal and Dortmund, and to a degree at Barcelona as well. They just have too much quality in my opinion. On to Group C, and I'm going to go with the Cypriot side, Aris Limassol, to finish bottom. I just think it's their debut in the competition. They haven't got enough experience. They just don't have the players to win games in Europe. Watch out for Russian striker Alexander Kokorin, who had a good loan spell with them last season. In third, and I'm going to put Sparta Prague. I just think Rangers have a little bit more quality. The likes of Tavernier, Dessers and Lammers will be able to beat out this Czech side, who are pretty solid but don't have too many special players. They have the likes of Vitic, who looks quite promising, but I'm not quite so sure on them. So in Rangers are going to go second, and as I said, they have a lot of quality in their squad, and I don't think Michael Beale will fail to qualify them for the next round. And in first, I'm going to go with Real Betis. They picked up wins against teams like Villarreal and a draw against Atletico so far this season on 7 points after 4 games. They're in 7th place. It's a solid start, and I can see them breezing through this group fairly comfortably. Something like 4 wins and 2 draws or something like that. Moving on to Group D now, and in fourth, we're going to have Sturm Graz. They were in the Europa League last season, and they were in the group in which every team finished on 8 points. So they were very unfortunate last season, but I just think Sturm Graz, they just don't have many recognisable names. They just don't have the players to beat anyone other than maybe Rakow. The other 2 teams in their group they probably can't beat, and that's why I'm putting them bottom. So in third, I'm going to go with Polish champions Rakow, just because I think players will be very excited to play European football for the first time. Their rise is spectacular. Watch out for players such as Zwolinski and Iwi, who have scored 9 goals in all competitions so far this season. In second, I'm going to go with Atalanta. I think they've lost quite a few key players such as Hoyland and Jeremy Boga, as well as Joachim Mailer. They have brought in players such as Scamacca and Bakker and Di Ketelaere from AC Milan on loan. But I think their squad has had a lot of turnover and they might take a while to gel, so they might struggle against opponents such as Sporting, and so I think they'll finish second and go into the playoffs. So I'm going to put Sporting in first, just because I think their squad is really quality. The likes of Pedro Goncalves, players will really shine in this group, along with defensive talents such as Quaresma and Inacio. On to Group E now, and then last I'm going to put another Austrian side, Lask. I just think their squad compared to the rest of the teams in this group, just not enough, I'm afraid. Right, so in third, and I'm going to put Toulouse. They've started the season off okay, picking up a draw against PSG, but they've also not been able to beat Clermont-Foot, and they've lost to Strasbourg, neither of which are spectacularly good sides. In second, I'm going to put USG. Now, USG's rise has been very, very strong. They've went from the second tier to the first tier to nearly winning the Belgian league, and last year in the Europa League, in which they made it to the playoff and they escaped out their group. In fact, they made it all the way to the quarterfinals when they were beaten by Leverkusen. This is really promising, and although they've obviously lost Boniface, their main striker, I think they can qualify for the knockouts once more. Right, so in first, and obviously it has to be Liverpool. I mean, the likes of Gakpo, Salah, Jota, and new signings in the midfield such as Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, Endo, McAllister. I mean, the list is endless. They're European quality, they're Champions League quality. They're definitely going to breeze through this group, even if they play a second team. On to Group F, and in last place I'm going to put Maccabi Haifa. They were terrible in the Champions League last season, and they were pretty poor in the second leg of their match against Young Boys, losing 3-0. And I just don't think their squad is going to fare well in this tough group, and so I'm putting them in last. In third, and I'm going to put Greek side Panathinaikos. I think because they beat Marseille in the Champions League third qualifying round, that was a big statement. That's a really impressive feat. And although they lost to Braga, they were solid in both matches, so I think they'll be able to take out Maccabi Haifa and perhaps get some points against their other group rivals. In second place, I'm going to put Stade Rennais, and I think Stade Rennais have a really good squad, and they were in this competition last year and they were able to escape the group. The likes of Terrier, Truffert at the back, as well as Kalimuendo could have a really good season after the slightly disappointing first season, but still solid, 8 goals. Beauregard and Arthur Petit are very strong players, so I think they'll be able to escape their group, but they can't beat Villarreal, who I'm going to put top. Now, Villarreal are a really good side. I mean, they reached the Champions League semi-finals just a few years ago, so I have to put them top. They're a really strong outfit. The likes of Parejo, Juan Foyth, and new signings such as Sorloth and Bren Brereton Diaz, very good additions. I know they've just sacked their coach, Kike Setien, but I think the new coach can help them avoid the Europa League playoff. On to Group G, and in fourth place, I've gone with Servette. This is their debut in the competition, and they've started poorly in the Swiss Super League. They're currently 7th after losses to Young Boys and an embarrassing 4-1 loss to Yverdon, who are a newly promoted side. Don't exactly fill me with confidence, and so I'm going to put them at the bottom. Right, so in third, I'm going to go with Sheriff Tiraspol. And these guys are getting to be European levels now. They've been in European competition for a little while now, and they're good. They're pretty good. They've beaten some good teams, but I think the other two teams in this group are just a little bit better, especially the team I think are going to win this group and potentially win the whole Europa League. So in second, I'm going to go with Slavia Prague, and they've started off well in the Czech League. They're currently unbeaten after 7 matches, and one player I'd watch out for is Vaclav Jurečka. He has scored a lot of goals last season, and don't be surprised to see him linked with a big move soon. So in first, and I think it's obvious, it has to be Roma, last year's runners-up. They've made some great additions. As I said in my Serie A predictions video, the likes of Renato Sanchez, Asmoon, as well as Aouar and Lukaku on loan. They are strong contenders to win the whole thing. Right, so in the final group, Group H, and in fourth, I'm going to put Karabag. They've started poorly in the Azerbaijani league, and they're used to this competition, but I think compared to the other teams in this group, they're just not quite as good. They've got slightly less quality in their squad. Right, so in third, I'm going to put Swedish champions Häcken. Their loss in the playoffs to KI was pretty embarrassing, but they recovered it by beating Aberdeen quite comfortably on aggregate. And they're third in the Swedish league, which obviously is quite close to its conclusion, so they're still in the hunt to win the Allsvenskan. That means in second, I'm going to put Norwegian side Molde. And I'm putting Molde second because they gave Galatasaray, who are actually a pretty strong side, a hard time in the Champions League playoffs. They haven't been too good this year in the Norwegian first division, but I think they're good enough to secure a second spot. So in first place, it has to be Leverkusen. There's too much quality in this squad. When you've got Florian Wirtz in midfield, you're definitely getting first place.